We live in the most connected era in human history. Messages travel across the world in seconds. Faces appear on screens instantly. And yet, more people than ever report feeling completely alone. Friendship is often treated as something casual, something optional. But psychologically, it's anything but optional. It shapes how we see ourselves, how safe we feel in the world, and how meaningful life appears. For some people, the absence of friendship isn't temporary. It isn't a phase. It's their daily reality. Today, we step into that quiet reality. Not to judge it, not to romanticize it, but to understand what truly happens to the human mind when someone has no friends. Because isolation doesn't just affect your social life. It reshapes your inner world. For many, the idea of having no friends feels suffocating. Humans are wired for connection. Our brains evolved in groups where belonging meant survival. When connection disappears, the brain reacts as if something essential is missing. Loneliness isn't just emotional discomfort. It activates the same neural circuits associated with physical pain. The mind interprets isolation as a threat, even when there is no visible danger. People without friends often describe a quiet, persistent ache. Not dramatic, not loud, just constant. They watch others laugh together, share stories, build memories, and slowly, a question begins to form in their mind. What's wrong with me? This is one of the most damaging effects of long-term isolation. The absence of connection turns inward and becomes self-blame. Many people without friends aren't antisocial, cold, or incapable of connection. Often, they tried, they showed up. They made the effort, but connection didn't stick. Over time, being ignored or left out becomes internalized. Psychologists refer to this experience as social exclusion. It doesn't just affect how you relate to others. It begins to erode how you see yourself. When someone repeatedly feels unchosen, the mind starts adjusting its identity around that feeling. Confidence fades, self-doubt grows. The person doesn't just feel lonely. They feel invisible. They don't just lack friends. They lack belonging. Isolation stops being something that happens to them and becomes something they believe they are. The effects of living without friends change across different stages of life. In childhood and adolescence, friendships help form identity and social confidence. Without those bonds, young people may struggle to trust others or develop the social skills needed for future relationships in adulthood. Long-term isolation is linked to higher levels of anxiety, depression, and emotional numbness. Without social feedback, self-perception can become distorted. In older age, the impact becomes physical. Loneliness is associated with cognitive decline, weakened immunity, and reduced life expectancy. Friendship is not a luxury. It is psychological nourishment. But this is where the story becomes more complex, because isolation doesn't only damage. Sometimes it transforms. People who spend long periods alone are forced into deep self-confrontation. There is no distraction, no external validation, no audience. At first, this can be painful. But over time, it can lead to something rare. Many people without friends develop a high level of self-reliance. They learn to regulate their emotions internally instead of depending on others. They become comfortable with silence. They observe more than they perform. Solitude strips away social masks and forces honesty. You begin to hear your own thoughts clearly. Creativity often grows in isolation. Without constant social noise, the mind turns inward. Ideas deepen. Imagination expands. Some people discover talents, interests, and ambitions they never would have explored if they were constantly surrounded by others. Solitude becomes a space for building inner worlds. There's also a misconception that having no friends automatically means something is wrong. Sometimes it reflects strong boundaries, high standards, or a refusal to accept shallow connections. Some individuals choose authenticity over popularity. In a culture obsessed with being seen, that choice takes courage. Solitude becomes a teacher. It teaches patience because connection cannot be forced. It teaches clarity because without outside influence, your values become clear, and it teaches self-worth because eventually you realize your existence does not depend on being noticed. Your value is not measured by how many people surround you, but by the depth of the person you become in their absence. This doesn't mean isolation leaves no scars. It does. Being alone for too long can leave marks on the soul. But scars are not always signs of weakness. Sometimes they are evidence of survival, of growth that happened quietly, without applause. Not everyone who walks alone is lost. Some are rebuilding, some are healing, some are learning who they are before letting others in. And when they finally choose to connect, they often do so with intention, emotional depth, and strength shaped by solitude rather than approval. So here's the question for you. What do you think happens to someone who lives without friends for a long time? Does solitude strengthen them, or does it always leave a wound? Can isolation become a path to self-discovery, or does it create a silent kind of pain that never fully fades? If this made you see loneliness differently, consider subscribing. We explore the psychology beneath everyday human experiences, honestly and deeply. Like the video if it resonated. It helps these ideas reach people who may need them. And if you want to connect with others who think this way, the community link is in the description, because this isn't just a channel. It's a mindset.